good time with the, it's a Nerf blaster, it's for kids, so much fun. No. This modification is extremely dangerous in the wrong hands. If you misuse this, you are going to get hurt. Seriously, it can very easily crush your fingers, pull out hair, it can get stuck on a piece of your gear and seriously hurt you, and I'm sure if you're creative enough, you could find a way to part with your own mortality. This is not for kids. This is not meant for incompetent adults, but in the hands of the right person, in somebody who respects what this is and knows what they're doing and is aware of the dangers, this thing is really frickin' cool. Are you ready to see possibly the coolest thing I've ever gotten on my channel and one of the most expensive purchases I've ever made, which is, you know, thanks to you for the people who hit that join button and support this channel and help me get the extra money to afford stuff like this, which not only helps me, but also gives back to the community because I can use it to buy things from other people who make awesome things in the hobby, such as Ezekiel or NERF EZ, who made, I'm sure you've seen this before, I've posted it on my Facebook wall a whole bunch of times, but let me introduce you to one of the coolest things ever. What is this? Well, you might have an idea, but if you don't, this is an auto priming kit for the NERF Longshot, rated up to a 20 kilogram spring, which we will test. Hey, it's even signed by Ezekiel right there. That's actually a beautiful touch. Thank you very much. Yes, I purchased this. I wasn't even like the first one to get one of these. Apparently there's quite a few out there, and this is the heavy version. There's two versions of this kit. One of them is rated up to, I think, 12 kilogram and looks significantly cooler in my opinion. This is the big boy, and it is heavy, several pounds heavy. It might even unbalance your Longshot if you're not careful enough, and it is powered by at least a 4S LiPo. The minimum for this thing is 16 volts. So yeah, you're gonna need like a 4S LiPo, and on a 1000 milliamp hour, he says you can get about 400 shots, which is nothing to sneeze at, because, I mean, semi-auto 20 kilogram Longshot. Now, I heard the turf spring won't actually prime the 18.5 kilogram turf spring because they kind of undercut them a little bit, but 20 kilogram Longshot will apparently work, like the worker one, and that means you could potentially get like a 300 plus FPS Longshot out of this semi-auto. Yeah, you don't have to prime it, which is gonna be really interesting, and this is how it came to me, already kind of put together and everything like that, and it looks really cool. This is absolutely awesome, and this is actually what happens. So you've got a big old motor right here, a lot of gears in there that manipulate these arms right here, and there's actually micro switches on this that tell it when to stop and when to move back forward and when to stop when it moves forward. Lots of cool stuff on this. It is one of the most amazing pieces of engineering I've ever seen in this hobby, and if you're wondering how it kind of goes on the Longshot, well, we're gonna grab full frontal here, and we're going to stuff this right on the back of it, and there's going to be an insert in the back of this, which is going to have screw threads on it, and yes, I will have to drill holes in the top of Red Longshot, but I think you can forgive me because I'm going to have a semi-auto Red Longshot. So yeah, a couple of holes that would be covered by a stock anyway. I don't think it matters. So yeah, I'm gonna have possibly, well, at least right now, the only Red Longshot in the world that has this kit on it. And I'm really excited for that. And to put this kit on, you are gonna need a drill. You are going to need a couple of things. There's also this in the bag, which is the rest of the pieces you will need to put this thing together. So we've got, this is your rev button, or well, the priming button. When you press this, which will adhere to the side of your grip, and then this wire will kind of fit in the gap all the way back, this will prime your Longshot, so it will pull it back and then put it back forward. And you do have to kind of play with that and make sure that it actually is pulling your blaster, the bolt sled and everything all the way back. So you can actually adjust these screws that are inside these stops right here. You can see one right there and one right there, and it is positively awesome. And it will move. It's a little difficult, but it can in fact move a little bit. Yeah, no, it's cool. And your battery will sit in here, so you kind of put it down in there and put it in there, and you're, well, good to go. I'm really excited to put this on, and I can't believe I haven't done that yet. So, Comes with all the screws you need. We've got these two right here, this one right here. This right here is what these screws will fit into to hold it to the back, so there's 4 points of contact right there, which should help. I should mention the entirety of this thing is 3D printed, except for obviously the gears and the motor and everything, and the bars, because that's important. I should also know that these are like steel. These will rust, so you need to either keep them oiled or paint them, because they seriously will rust. And let's kind of put this all the way up like that, although I do believe you have to prime your Longshot in order to get this thing on there. I'll have to watch his video and kind of summarize it for you. There is an on and off switch right back here, so you can turn the system on and off so you don't have any accidental openings and closings, and as you can imagine, this thing will absolutely rip things apart if you let it, so don't try to be running around, you know, fiddling around inside the breech or anything like that with the system on, because you're gonna hurt yourself. So if you get a jam or something like that, you need to make sure you turn the ignition off, seriously. But it's gonna be frickin' cool, which means I need to take apart the red Longshot, which is not something I actually want to do, because this thing is always a pain to take apart and put back together. But again, I think I can make an exception for this. So let's get this thing installed and see exactly what it can do. And here are the internals in my beautiful red Longshot, my full worker metal internals in this beast. And I do love this thing. This thing has been really, really freaking good to me. Why is there a shard of red plastic in there? That is not good. Yeah, that's a little worrying. Well, we're gonna have to take most of these internals out for the most part anyway, because we gotta drill the holes. It amazes me how easily all this stuff will come out. Undo one screw, and this entire thing comes apart. I'm seeing red plastic. I gotta make sure nothing's actually breaking down in here. Could just be from all the cuts I had to make in order to fit things into this beast. But I think we're okay. I think they were just remnant little pieces. Gotta wonder or worry about that kind of stuff with highly powerful springers, because they do tend to destroy themselves if you're not too careful. So we're gonna be taking this piece right here, we're gonna be putting that in there, and then we're going to be putting the shell kind of back together so it's aligned in a way. I can remove this, my life would be a lot easier. There we go. And to drill these holes, you're gonna need a 5/30 seconds drill bit. So make sure you have one of those before you start doing this, because we don't want to drill too many holes in our beautiful Longshots. This scares the crud out of me, but it needs to be done. Make sure it's still flat and everything's pushed back. And I destroy this Longshot more, but there we go. Just make sure when we put that on that these still line up. Perfect. All right. So that's pretty much it for the hard part. So for this piece, which is really important because this is actually one of the things that keeps your heavy stock anchored to your Longshot, you're basically gonna have to put this where the original stock kind of slid on. So this thing has a slight angle to it, and it also has this cutout in it, and really there's only one way this can go in. On the left hand of your shell, you're gonna make sure this little cutout fits in near that screw post, which is gonna kind of anchor that in. Just like that. There's really no other way that's going to fit in there unless you force it, but just do that, and then put it in like so. And make sure before you button this up, you remove the priming indicator. Unfortunately, that can't be in here with this kit, and you fit in this piece, which is what the top screw holes will thread into, and it's really easy. The smaller of the two kind of gaps right there, well, it just goes in like that. Which is, and it should obviously align with the hole you already have drilled in there. And then of course, just put that back together. Make sure you have everything in there, and RIP priming indicator. Which, I really liked it. I didn't want to get rid of it, but oh well. Now it's time for your priming button, which is going to be located on the grip, and it is adhered with a piece of adhesive on the bottom of this. And basically this thing is going to fit perfectly right here inside the grip of your Longshot. If you're left-handed, I don't exactly know what to do right here, because it doesn't look like there is exactly a left-handed option at the moment. That being said, it's then going to kind of snake around here and fit into this groove, and it's going to come up here, and there's actually a piece right here that will clamp in here and hold that down even more. So that's just going to kind of friction fit in there, and if it's a little tight, you can sand it, and it's going to go back and connect to the spots right there, which will control the entire system. There we go. Just like that. So the idea is I just press that in order to prime it. Press that to fire. Press that to prime. Press that to fire. Cool! All right. Now we finally kind of get to the fun stuff. Come on, just get out. Just stay out for a sec. Make sure this thing is all the way back. I have to prime this beast before I try to do this. There we go. Alright. Gonna put this in there and make sure that cable is in the spot it's supposed to. Boom. Let's connect that for the moment. Stick that in there. So these long bolts are supposed to screw into there. Although you do need to have the proper wrench for them. Just got the bolts at the top. Well, that's not going anywhere right now. So we will have to probably adjust these stops, but I can already tell that needs to go slightly farther back. Just a little bit. These are some really small, there we go, screws. What size do you use? Use that size. Okay, that's that should be it. Took a while, but I do believe that's everything. So I should be able to press this forward. All right, let's see if this thing does anything. Let's hold it up here. I'm pretty sure it's primed. Okay. I want to... Okay. I can smell ozone. I'm not sure if that's right, but I can smell it from the motor. Hopefully that's okay. I'm going to put a little more screws into this thing, and then I'm going to put a bag into it, because this is like a dream come true. Yeah, that never gets boring. I wish I could figure out why my performance is so garbage. I have like 100% air seal and it just doesn't fire whatsoever, but that's not the point of this video. The point is, of course, this stock by Ezekiel, the auto priming Longshot stock. You simply press this button, primes the blaster, let it go, and just keep doing that and it works beautifully. This thing is so good. It was worth every bit of money I paid for it, and a lot of you, if you don't already know the cost of this, are going to just immediately laugh, why would you pay that much? And, well, I paid $370 something for this shipped. It was like $374, I think? That's a lot of money, and most of you are gonna be like, why don't you just get a Caliburn? Well, I have several Caliburns. I have 3 of them, and a Talon Claw. Well, why don't you just get HPA? Well, I have HPA tanks and everything like that to work. The issue is that HPA isn't allowed in most of the places that I can do a Nerf battle. I mean, if I go to a public location like a park or a school, I cannot use an HPA blaster, and yet, the funniest part about that is if you look at something like the Foam Pro Tour, well, the FPS cap for that was 250 FPS. So HPA would be perfect for that, and yet I'm not able to use it at an event like that. Nobody is. This can, and that's the coolest part about it. Yes, you could use a Caliburn, but do you want to manually prime your Caliburn, or do you want to have that? Yeah, I think we all know what the answer is, but do you want to pay for something like this? Well, I'm a big fan of just completely eccentric, complex mechanisms, and this is just a bunch of gears in a box and a motor hooked up to the original Longshot that's made to fit on the stock, and Ezekiel has outdone himself because it works flawlessly. Every single part of this was amazing. I can't even begin to wonder how he built this thing, and yet here it is. And it was honestly a really easy install, no fuss, everything worked, and I'm super duper happy with it. And for those of you who need this exact application, I can't recommend it enough. It is extremely heavy. That's a given. It is very, very heavy. It's going to add several pounds to the weight of your Longshot. But it's all located in the back, so shouldering this thing, you don't even feel it, to be perfectly honest, which is great. And that leaves the front end extremely, extremely nimble because you have this big counterweight resting against your shoulder. It works amazingly well. This is kind of going to be a game changer for a lot of people, because if you do have those high FPS limits, well, yes, you could have single shot pistols and stuff like that and Caliburns and whatnot, and then you could have stuff like this. And I would rather use something like this, to be perfectly honest. But that's a lot of money. There is another version of this that is cheaper by like $100 or so. That is meant for a 12 to like 14 or 10 to 14, something like that, a smaller spring load. And it honestly looks a bit cooler because the motor is like at an angle, looks more futuristic to me. This one's just a big bolt-on thing. It reminds me of that gun from like Call of Duty, I think it was Black Ops, no, Advanced Warfare, that is like 3D printer in the back of the gun that printed bullets into the that was so dumb, but it was so cool. And having the big old cylinder back here really reminds me of that. And it is just an amazing, amazing piece of machinery. And I am very, very happy with it. I can't imagine letting this go by. And for this blaster, this is perfect because it's a red Longshot, which is super rare, with a really expensive thing bolted onto it. And I'm going to put on some more stuff on this Longshot and finalize it up and make an absolute monster that also looks cool. But that's going to be a little bit far away, especially since I can't figure out again why my Longshot fires like such crap. But that's not this kit's problem. This kit works flawlessly, and it's seriously the coolest thing I think you can get in this entire hobby. But it's expensive. A lot of people are not going to be able to rationalize that, and that's perfectly fine. But for many of you, this is the answer to something that you may have wanted for quite a long time, especially if you're like a fan of like the Stampede and stuff like that, and you wanted like a really high-powered Stampede. Well, you can get some pretty decent power out of the Stampede now with like gear sets and stuff like that, but really it's not going to compete anything with a Longshot like this, and it's just, it's excessive, it's cool, and I love it, and I'm really glad to have one. And well, not everybody can get one of these things. If you are looking to pick one of these up, the price tag doesn't matter to you, well, I will have a link to Ezekiel's Facebook page and, of course, his Etsy page down below. But you cannot find this on his Etsy. You have to contact him, because not only does he not have this on his Etsy, because it's a dangerous thing. Like, it really can be, if mishandled, incredibly dangerous. This can break fingers. This can seriously do bodily harm. It's not for everyone. He's not gonna sell this to some 12-year-old that thinks it's the coolest thing ever and mom's getting a divorce, so she'll buy the kid whatever he wants and he wants one of these, so here's the credit card, go buy it off your internet thing. No, that's not an option. He's vetting who he actually sells this to. And, well, once you contact him and he does agree, you're put on a list and you're gonna have to wait quite a while. I had to wait about two and a half months, I think, before mine was ready to ship, and I was in like the initial wave of people, so that's something to keep in mind. That being said, it was very much worth the wait, and this will definitely change the way the game's going to be played for some people. This may be getting closer and closer to that overpowered sphere of NERF, but that being said, rate of fire isn't that extreme. It's pretty fast, but it's not completely balls to the wall or anything like that. Honestly, you could still pump action a Longshot, which would work perfectly fine. This is just a bit faster and a lot more comfortable. You can get a few hundred shots off a LiPo. I used a 4S LiPo in this case. It is rated up to like a 6S LiPo. I don't have one of those, and I think he said 4S is perfectly fine. You don't want to heat up the system and melt things anyway, so yeah, this is perfectly fine. 1000 milliamp hour 4S LiPo gives you about 400 shots. It's very easy to access the LiPo and pull it out and stuff like that. There actually is battery door cover right here. You can remove that, slide out your LiPo. Mine's so small I can just fit it through the other side, no problem. But that is a thing, and I can't, gosh, that is, how did he make that? It's so cool! And if you're interested, and you think you want to get one, I would contact him sooner than later, because it's going to be a while anyway, and these things are absolutely awesome. I hope you enjoyed this look at this piece of machinery, because I am blown away, and you will see it again in the very, very near future, when I have finally figured out what this Longshot is capable of, because right now, it's not doing what I want it to. I'm Walcom S7, thank you so much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.
You gotta